our first guest is on the line, joining us virtually to speak on her amazing book. Now, our guest goes by the name of Phumelele Ndumo, is the founder of ThuthukaSA, a financial education business she established in 2007. This was to address the lack of financial knowledge among her peers. She's also the author of the South African bestseller From Debt to Riches, Steps to Financial Success, which has sold over 29,000 copies since its first publication in 2011. Now, the book covers important topics like that of financial planning, money management, and the dangers of high levels of debt. Now, Phumelele, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Now, for someone who is, an author of such a very amazing, insightful, necessary book, I want to know what actually inspired you to be the founding member of the ThuthukaSA, as well as writing the book titled From Debt to Riches.
Thank you so much for the question. I was actually troubled, and I'm still troubled by the number of South Africans, including educated and professionals, who are struggling with issues of money, high indebtedness, and, we're seeing higher repossessions of cars, of homes, people not able to pay school fees, using credit cards to buy food. So these were just some of the issues that made me to realize that we need somebody or an organization that needs to focus on issues of basic personal finances, especially because we're not taught about money at school or at university.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just also touching on the financial knowledge in South Africa in particular, a lot of people have been asking for that to be included in our syllabus when it comes to schools in particular. But why do you think there is such a significant lack of financial knowledge among many South Africans? And how does your platform actually aim to bridge that gap?
For me, it goes back to, if there's no personal finance in the school curriculum or the, university curriculum, how are people going to know? And if you are not in a fortunate position to have a parent who understands money, who is going to teach you about money? And money is one of those subjects that is hardly ever spoken about. People go and get married. They don't even know, in terms of financially speaking, the person that they are marrying, what is their credit report looking like? To give you just one example, which for me is something that you cannot afford to do. So our platform, our organization is really trying to, through the book, through the talks and the workshops that we do, we get invited in churches, in companies, wherever we get invited, we attend so that we share through talks and workshops, the basics of personal finance. It's amazing that people don't even understand interest rates. And what is troubling again is this is across the board. You're finding people who are highly skilled in their own field, but when it comes to money, they know so little. For me, that is the first or the number one reason why so many people are heavily indebted.
I couldn't agree more, and I really commend your efforts in trying to spread the awareness and spread information about money management as well as financial education through the various platforms that you work with. I also want to talk a bit more about your book, From Debt to Riches. It has been described as, an educational and enlightening book. Could you give us an overview of some of the main concepts that you cover in your book?
We start off by tackling the issue of debt, to basically also highlight that not all debt is bad for you. There is some debt that is good that you need to have. Very few of us, for instance, can afford to buy our homes cash. And also in terms of interest rates, how the interest that you pay on a home loan, being a secured loan, is much cheaper. So we also speak about interest rates, and so that you understand even before you sign that personal loan or that credit card, what that interest rate means, and also all the other hidden costs that come, because it's not just the interest rate that you have to worry about. There are insurances that come, there are so many fees that come with all these credit agreements. So we unpack all of that in the book, but we don't only end there. We also look at what are the main causes that lead people to get into debt. And one of them is, for instance, buying a car and not understanding the terms. So many people buy a car, they don't even know that there's residual. They wake up 6 years and they think they've paid off the car, only to find that there is residual that must still be paid. As an example, many people, when they apply for home loans, they struggle. And sometimes they buy homes that are above their means. When interest rates increase like they are right now on the high, then the homes are at risk of being repossessed. So we cover all of that as well, the different types of insurances that one needs to be aware of. But we also tackle investments, because we trying to say it's not good enough to aim to be out of debt. For you to ensure that you don't fall back into debt, it's important that you also start having an emergency fund. Exercise your tax-free investments. They've been around since 2015 at the start of the tax year, but some people still don't fully understand how they can optimize their returns. Offshore tax-free investments. So we talk about investments as well, and things like, before you get married to your loved one, what are the things that you should be talking about, and understanding the different types of marriage regimes. Many people may still marry in court of property, but is that the best for you? Do you understand the risks of getting married in court of property? What are the alternatives? So these are, in a nutshell, some of the issues that we address in the book.
The harsh realities of purchasing anything is, usually overshadowed by the excitement of having something new and, owning something. And I think also when you go to those institutions that offer that, they also package it in a way that, it makes you seem like I will afford this, I will manage this. Only when you actually now have the loan with you, have the car with you, and now having to live in that house, it's like no, I was not part of this, conversation and some of the things that are being highlighted. But Ndumo, I'm seeing you have a passion about, intergenerational financial planning. I would like for you to just explain why this is important and how families can actually implement this understanding.
Thanks for the question. It's important when we plan our lives to understand that one day we'll be gone. And what are the things that we can do to make the lives of our children, grandchildren, and future generations easier than maybe what we've experienced in life. So in intergenerational planning, we also look at using tools like your life covers as an example, using estate planning, making sure that even when you draft that will, you ensure that you leave some of the money which can go into your grandchildren or your great-grandchildren, so that your future generations are better off because you have lived. Because we're finding that, especially in our Black communities, we are almost always starting from scratch. Sometimes we're even carrying our parents and other generations, what other people call black tax. Now, that is not sustainable, especially when you look at the high youth unemployment. So we've got to try and find and use the means that we have to ensure that we make the most of the money that we have, not just for the here and now, but even when we are gone, that our great-grandchildren and others, their lives are easier.
No, definitely. And I think your passion for generational wealth is such an important thing. I just want to touch on something before we let you go. I wanted to find out what future projects or books can we expect from you as well as from your platform?
I'm not so sure about books at this stage, but we are trying to look at an alternative credit rating system, because the credit rating system as it stands actually encourages you to get into debt. For instance, you can't buy a car if you don't have some other debt. They don't really, the credit scoring system does not take into account somebody who would rather save money and use that money as a deposit to buy the things that they need. So we're having a credit scoring system that puts people into debt that they don't even understand, and for them to buy the things that they need on credit. And surely there are better ways to do it, especially because debt is also addictive. and we're finding people getting into debt they don't understand, and by the time they want to buy their first home, they can't even, qualify for the home loan because they are so heavily indebted. So one of our most recent projects that we'll be embarking upon is to come up with an alternative credit scoring system, which will go hand in hand with, we're trying to do empowerment workshops out there, and we know it's not going to be easy, but we're hoping to disrupt the market as it stands for the better of our society, because South Africa is not sustainable to have so many people who are heavily indebted and very few people who save. Our savings rates are so low, and most of our incomes, over 70%, goes towards servicing debt. No country can survive with debt. So we've got to get South Africans to save.
Ma'am Ndumo, thank you so much for coming in and sharing in your insights on the beautiful understanding of the likes of interest, investments, all these ideologies of credit scores, and also understanding that with marriage there's community or in being married in community of property, and that's something that we tend to overlook because everything is still good until you find that your partner has been acquiring a lot of debt, and how comes now you have to now start settling it when you are not the one who was actually acquiring it, which it can send a lot of people to the likes of depression as well as anxiety. But thank you so much for this insightful conversation.
And thank you so much for having me.
Viewers at home, that was Phumelele Ndumo, who's actually an author of a book called From Debt to Riches, and she was sharing in the importance of just understanding some of the purchases that we are making, or the idea of when you're getting married. Also, you need to understand what we're doing as the couple or the individuals within the union, because one thing for sure, guys, yeah, we are living hand to mouth. Even our own country has a debt to settle with the likes of IMF and World Bank. And we also, the citizens, are also grappling with, living off our salaries, as well as the likes of loans and many other things like that, with the repo rate also going up and up and up. That has us, sending us to, emergency room because the high blood is even getting the young bloods. But viewers at home, hope you guys did enjoy that insightful conversation. Hope you start having the right conversations with your family, especially when we look at our grandparents, when they're getting that, the retirement check or the retirement payout. Let us advise them to, send it into investments so it can sustain them for the longer years that they get to live on this earth. Also, us young ones, let us stop buying the little things that we don't necessarily need. Let us start look into developing those emergency funds. Let us start saving and living below our means. Just because you're earning 5,000 doesn't mean you must spend 5,000 monthly. But viewers at home, on that note, let's head over to an ad break. See you when we come back.